to say to ourselves what is true. We need to, rather than listen to ourselves just chatter mistruths or misinformation. And the truth is that we can hope in God, because our hope in God, as we talked about on Monday, is secure. It's secure in who God is. It's secure in His creation of the world. It's secure in His ability to bring all things to conclusion at the end of time. Our hope in God is absolutely and completely and secure. This doesn't come naturally for us. I think what comes naturally to us is to live downcast, to live in this kind of state of tension and just constantly being agitated. So we really have to work on this, I think. The best sermon you can preach or you can listen to this week is the sermon you preach to yourself. And the way to do that is just to talk to yourself. Hope in God. We need to tell ourselves to hope in God. And that will give you this reservoir. We know these biblical truths, or if we don't, we need to be putting them into our lives. But then we can call them up when troubled times come, when the disquiet comes, when our hearts are stirred up within us. Then we can call up these truths and preach them to ourselves. We can remind ourselves of who God is and tell ourselves the truth, and that will help us when we're in trouble, when we're put down, when we're feeling down. Then we can look to that hope to restore us and remind us that things will not always be like they are today, that God is going to restore justice and bring about good. If you get set back, maybe you're planning for something, if you get sick, if things don't go the way that you hoped for, then you have a reservoir of inner strength to remind you to keep going, not to give up. If you face temptation, then you have hope inside of you to remind you that righteousness is the right way to live, not to give in to sin and temptation. So I really want to encourage you. I want to share with you briefly just a short story before we go. I heard Tim Keller tell this story once about two women who, I think this is a made-up story, but it illustrates the purpose quite well. There were two women who were hired to work in a factory and doing the same job exactly, putting together some tedious little machinery, and every day they had to do the same job for 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and it was just the same tedious job. They couldn't really talk, couldn't really interact with anybody, and after some period of time had gone by, finally the two women had met up in the break room, and one of the women just put out with the job, very tired of it, very distressed, and looked at the other woman and said, I just don't know how long I can take it. I don't know how long I can continue to do this job. This is so frustrating and so mind-numbing. I just don't want to do this anymore. And the other woman looked at her and just brushed her off and said, well, I don't know what the problem is. I rather enjoy this job. I don't have a problem with it. And the first woman kind of incredulously looked at her and said, are you kidding me? Doing this kind of work for this kind of pay? I mean, the pay here is incredibly low, and $5 an hour for the work that we're doing is just not enough. I can barely feed my family on this. And the other woman looked at her and said, oh, they're paying you $5 an hour. Well, they're paying me $50 an hour. And all of a sudden it became clear to the first woman why the second woman really enjoyed the job and was not upset at all. The second woman had hope. She had hope that every day when she went to work, she was going to take home a beautiful paycheck and be able to live a beautiful life based on her paltry work. So, you see, hope does something for us. It gives to you and will help you to strength and satisfaction.